Welcome back. FBI Director Kash Patel says that China has agreed to curb exports of fentanyl precursors into the U.S. That's what Chinese officials told him when he was recently in China. Let's unpack the meaning, or lack thereof, behind this with Casey Fleming. He's the chairman and CEO of BlackOps Partners Corporation and a national security advisor specializing in unrestricted warfare. Thanks for your input on this very important topic, Casey. It's evident that the Chinese regime historically has not been serious about ending fentanyl trafficking in the U.S. overall, but they have made this agreement. Well, what's most significant about that? That it could lead to some concrete steps in the right direction, or that they're admitting that they do have some control over the whole process?
It's actually both. For them to say, yeah, we're going to take care of it, we're going to cut it down, we're going to cut it back, says that they have control over it, even though they tell you they don't have control over it. Nothing happens in China without the Chinese Communist Party's knowledge and approval. Otherwise, it just would not happen, or you would be punished, if you will. So, no agreement that the Chinese Communist Party has ever entered into have they ever honored. So this is the same thing. They'll fade a little bit. They'll say, okay, fine. So for 90 to 120 days, you will see a reduction in the fentanyl, but then it'll slowly creep back. That's really their plan. Their overall strategy, they are in a war with the United States, not just drug warfare, which we're talking about here with fentanyl. That's only one of many, many methods of unrestricted warfare to weaken your enemy for complete takeover. So, we're dealing with an enemy who is at war, who has constantly named us, the United States, as their mortal enemy. So I would not look for anything permanent. They're just playing us just once again. And just look at the rare earths. They said, hey, look, we're going to do a temporary pause on the rare earth restrictions. And they said, okay, well, we're going to come back. Not even a week later, they said, hey, we're going to come back and we're going to hold about 3 of the most critical ones away from you, the ones that are things that's actually that it's playing out. Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do.
Right. So, Casey, just understanding your deep knowledge of this, that they're just playing politics. It's all words. Yeah, bring your dignitaries, bring your officials over, like Kash Patel. Tell them what they want to hear. Wait for a little while and then go on. I mean, this is tens of thousands of Americans that Kash Patel says that President Trump is trying to save from this fentanyl crisis, shutting off this fentanyl pipeline. Now, there is a well-known fentanyl supply line that goes through Mexico, but what may be lesser known to many Americans is Canada's role. The DEA has described these super laboratories that manufacture fentanyl and that cartels are capitalizing on. Give us insight as to what needs to be done here and what the president is doing.
Well, it all emanates from Wuhan, China, and they ship it to the western coast of Mexico called Michoacan, and then they use those drug cartels to make their money and distribute powerful, efficient distribution networks. There are also labs that receive the chemicals up in Canada, as you well noticed. But look at the bigger picture. Let's look at that number. And I think the American people need to understand what we're really talking about here. The federal government withheld really the true number, at least in the intelligence community. We believe the number to be double what has been reported in the past. The 77,000 that they talk about every year, which, by the way, just 77,000 is more than the Vietnam War in the entire time of the Vietnam War. That's just 1 year. So you look at it, it's about 125,000 to 140,000 per year, the actual deaths. And typically that age range is in their 20s, which are a great way to get rid of and to murder military-aged young men and women. So if it's 120, 140,000, that's the equivalent of 2 737s crashing every day. And if you look at the last crash that we had, that was in the news or in the media cycle for at least 2 to 3 weeks, the one in D.C. with the Delta regional jet. Think about that. 2 of those going down every day. Why are we not hearing about those from our government and our mainstream media? So this is really what's going on. And people need to understand that's the number. Even if you look at the 77,000, that's the equivalent of 1 737 Airbus 321 going down every day, 365 days a year. That's a mental picture everybody needs to understand. So is this serious? You're absolutely right. It's serious. Is it politics? It better not be. Your enemy's at war with you. What are you doing about it?
Casey, I follow what you're saying, and President Trump's goal is to suffocate that whole ability for fentanyl to be manufactured and make its way into the United States. And you talk statistics. That's absolutely right. Every single person matters. Even Pennsylvania lawmakers are talking about how the grandparents have to raise the kids now because the parents died from fentanyl overdose. Just so sad. Now, Patel says the CCP is smuggling fentanyl in the U.S. to kneecap the country, something you were talking about, while detailing how the Iranian regime and Russia and the CCP, they're all collaborating with these cartels to get the substance into America through Canada. So what's the motivation field? I mean, it's obviously the adversaries trying to disrupt the American life and the American way of life.
The big picture is to weaken the United States because the propaganda that's out there that the United States is imperialistic, they control the world, it's the one world, the United States in charge of the world, and they're like tired of it. So you really do have a war going on. People don't understand it. The Chinese Communist Party has redefined what war looks like, and it's all these different methods to weaken the American people. And by the way, the ultimate goal is complete and utter takeover of the United States. The Chinese Communist Party has been in power since 1949, and they think it's their destiny to completely rule the world. And they plan on doing that by 2049, but they're on track to do it well before 2035, if you understand really what's going on behind the scenes. So it's all of their actions are for complete and utter takeover. And we've played into it. We've built this monster. We've put our supply chain, our manufacturing, our medicines, our pharmaceuticals, all in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. And just back in history lessons, back in high school, communism does not exist and cannot coexist with capitalism and freedom. They're mutually exclusive. So one of them is threatened by the other. And of course, communism is completely threatened by freedom. And communism is completely about surveillance and control. So that's really the end game here.
And Casey, we've seen the Chinese Communist Party murder their own people, even through threat of sanctions. We've seen them renege on political or geopolitical deals and trade deals, you name it. But can the trade leverage out of Washington keep the CCP accountable in ending this fentanyl crisis?
Yes, to a degree, but putting all your eggs into one basket, that's not the case. The Chinese Communist Party is hurting right now. As long as the American people keep buying Chinese products, it's going to prop up that economy. And so, the tariffs do help to a degree, but you already saw China says, hey, look, we're going to shut off rare earths. And they spent 30 years cornering the market on rare earths. They look so far down the road, and they are very smart and strategic people in the CCP. But you also have to know that they're a nothing more than a dark mafia corrupt regime. So that's who we're dealing with. And so, yes, they murder a lot of their own people. Don't forget, the Chinese Communist Party is responsible for double all other communist murders in history. So double that. Okay. So, and they have no trouble murdering their own people, and they have no respect for human life, as well as what you're seeing, all the different atrocities with the other races, the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, the Falun Gong, and don't forget the live human organ transplants. So and by the way, that's another word for live human organ transplants. Make no mistake, it's murder. So that's who we're dealing with. They're playing for all keeps. There's a quote that the CCP has: "We must live, you must die." And everybody needs to understand what we're up against.
So let's talk some action items here. The president is obviously taking his steps. Kash Patel going to China, doing what he can. The Bureau, of course, and the DEA tracking all these points in the supply chain, trying to shut it all down. What needs to be done to actually bring an end to this crisis?
The truth is, the American people need to take the matters into their own hands, meaning not by violence, but they need to stop buying Chinese goods and services. They need first start with anything that plugs in any kind of technology. And then the second thing is any consumables, makeup, food, any of that kind of stuff. We have to make a personal choice to stop feeding this monster that's trying to kill our children, not just our children, but our way of life and our country. So that's number one. leaving it up to the government has not worked. The government also, they're in for 4 years, then they're out for 4, and there's just too much turmoil to make things happen. And our adversaries know that. So if they can play the long game, they think that that's absolutely a win-win for a win, not a win-win, a win for them. So that's really what needs to happen. Honestly, it's up to the American people. Don't expect the federal government to be able to do much in the lines of any of this. They'll be able to get attention, but all this stuff is just window dressing. And listen, we've been doing this many years, and it doesn't change. It's every day is Groundhog Day. It doesn't change. And right now, we're pushing for the American people with the Constitution in a peaceful manner is to take their country back and stand up against this enemy that's killing our families. Remember, 2 737s a day going down. That's just fentanyl. Then you've got nitazene, xylazine. You've got vaping products that are all laced with carcinogens. You've got marijuana products that are laced with carcinogens. That's all under just one area, which is drug warfare. And there's over 100 different methods. These guys are playing for keeps. And you'll notice that I'm going to be amping up the message very, very soon. You'll notice behind me, there's also a book coming out in January that's going to cover all of this.
Yeah, not to mention the huge profits that the CCP is making amidst all this. Thanks for your deep insight on this. Casey Fleming, we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.